with Mikie Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there. He's punching me in the stomach. Like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochiko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochiko can practice today. And I was like, I look back and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
you heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Good show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach, I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Wednesday, September 4th. You get 3 straight days of Mik'd Up. You get Tuesday because we didn't have a show on Monday because it was Labor Day and I was in the air flying back from Las Vegas. My voice, they only sent half of it back to me today. The other half is supposed to get here tomorrow.
Or it's in that.
It's in transit. We'll see if it makes it here.
You might have just left it on tape too. It's possible. As well.
We had a little recording. I had to do a little hyped up recording.
You gotta fight.
It wasn't. I was trying to give the Any Given Sunday speech. Didn't work. My voice. I had better voice before this. No, not as much of a voice now. Hopefully it comes back fully tomorrow. But we have a lot to talk about. It's Ask Mikie and Mitch Wednesday. Brian Kelly obviously had some things to say yesterday. They had another practice today. Bad news out of practice. John Emery, who looked great in the first game of the season, worked his ass off to get back from his ACL tear from last year, has torn his ACL again. I believe it is the other knee, not the same knee he tore last year. Devastating loss for him. He's worked his ass off to get back on the field and do the things that he did in week 1 because I don't think anybody expected him to do what he did. And he was the bright spot in the running back room. He was the reason why our running game kind of got going a little bit in the second half. And it's unfortunate for him. His 6th year. Does that mean he gets a 7th year?
Oh, yeah. He'll get an injury red shirt.
You think he comes back?
Absolutely.
I mean, look.
A lot of people go to school for 7 years.
McCormick for Miami.
9.
He scored a touchdown in his 9th year. So if he comes back for his 7th year, great. It sucks that he has to go through this all over again. Like I said, he put a lot of time and energy. It's very mentally exhausting to come off of injury and rehab. And so our thoughts are with him. That's a terrible thing to happen, especially in practice. But, hopefully.
Non-contact.
That's usually how that happens. Hopefully it's a speedy recovery for him and he's able to get back to where he wants to be. That also brings up a bunch of questions in the running back room. The running back room we felt like was pretty solid, especially after last weekend, seeing what John Emery did. Now with him out, you really only have a two-headed monster that has any experience. And the third guy, Caden Durham, super talented but a freshman. I would imagine you're going to see him a lot more this coming weekend. He's going to get some reps against Nichols and probably in the next few weeks kind of ease his way in there because you can't just have 2 running backs. You have to have 3. Trey Holly still dealing with some of his legal issues. He's on the team. They're just trying to get those legal issues put behind him before he is officially cleared and ready to go and participate in games. The NFL starts tomorrow. First game of the season tomorrow. Chiefs at Ravens. Ravens at Chiefs.
There we go.
Ravens at Chiefs. Thursday night football. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the boys. Big signing is Marquise Hollywood Brown. He is not going to be playing tomorrow. Rashee Rice is going to be speeding his way through the defense. You like what I did there?
I like that.
So he obviously had a monster year last year as a rookie. They expect big things for him this year, especially with Hollywood Brown on that team. I think Lamar Jackson is going to have. He's obviously had an unbelievable year last year. He's every year it seems like he does something a little bit better. He's lost the weight that he gained last year. He looked like a monster.
He did bulk up last year.
And then he's leaned up. He wants to be a little bit more. He wants to be quicker, a little bit more athletic, like he was 2 or 3 years ago. He's lost the weight, so I would imagine you're going to see him play the way that he had played in the previous years. Last year he had a great year. He was MVP. Compared to his MVP before that, his MVP, the first MVP was
insane.
Last year's MVP, great season, but there was
fell short in the playoffs.
Exactly, and so I think he's got a lot of motivation to take that next step and win a Super Bowl, and so it's going to be its great first game. We will be betting on that. We'll be having conversations about betting on that. You can definitely fade us because don't fade me and maybe a little Jared.
Hell no.
Lloyd was the only one that hit on the parlay this weekend.
You hit my Howard bet.
But here's the deal. We all were in agreement in our bets. Like we really were. We talked about it and we said we like these 3 and we each picked one of the 3 and obviously the one that won was the one Lloyd.
And it was week 1. So,
Yeah, you had to see what was going to happen.
Lloyd
Lloyd wanted to see how the time clock.
Of course, Lloyd is the one that's right in week 1.
Yeah, right. Of course. That's the way it works. But we will talk about what is the line? Do you know?
3.
-3. We're back.
Classic
NFL. Classic. You're
fucked either way.
Home team gets the 3 points, and the visiting team it's a 3-point swing.
+3.
Home and visitor. So, what's the over under? What's the over under?
Ooh, that I don't know.
Because first game of the season, you don't have they don't play a ton of snaps in preseason. Is it going to be sloppy? You have 2 veteran quarterbacks, 2 really good quarterbacks. You would imagine it's going to be running pretty smoothly. But NFL starts tomorrow, followed by a game in Brazil on Friday, which they've beefed up security. I think some of the players are a little timid to go outside, rightfully so. And so,
a little
what?
Questionable for Eagles.
Yeah.
You can't wear green in Brazil, apparently. It's a big-time gang color.
Oh, really?
And so
isn't there like national colors green, though?
Yeah, but I think that's probably a part of it.
Oh.
It's like when you run into...
Supposedly they're staying at an airport hotel anyway, so I don't really think...
Airport hotel?
Yeah, I don't even think they're going to like a resort or anything. They're literally
landing, is the stadium...
Airport hotel...
The stadium's not far from there?
I don't know, but obviously they're going to ride together as a team to the stadium, so...
The NFL is really putting them through the ringer.
Why are they doing that?
Because there's money to be made.
Oh, I know, but I think are there other countries they could have maybe
Goodell said they pay
participated.
attention to the analytics. So apparently the Brazilian
Yeah,
market
yeah,
is,
but we don't want to die.
They're ready.
We don't want to die.
Well, they'll figure
Or
it out.
get kidnapped.
Oh, you can't. Yeah, lose a couple. We'll be
Oh,
all
they
right.
figure it out. That's why they're beefing up the security.
You'll be a hero.
They're good. They'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
Hotel, plane, hotel, stadium, hotel, plane.
9-hour flight back.
Back. That's how it's gonna be.
And
9
then play
hours?
again
If you're
next.
smart.
And play again next week.
If you're smart.
Well, probably on like it'll be Sunday, you get an extra couple days. That's
You
what
want to
they're
sightsee? Go do it on your own time, coach.
planning. Yeah. Poof.
Big Jesus out there.
I think I'm doing what it was a Slay, Darius Slay.
Yeah.
He said, I think I'm doing what he's doing. Hang out in the hotel room, room service, game,
There you go.
back to the hotel. I'm out.
Yeah, the Eagles were encouraged to sleep all 9 hours on the flight. They both left. Green Bay left today, and the Eagles left today. So they're already on their way over there to try to get acclimated.
Green Bay.
Is Green Bay playing?
Nope.
Just the Eagles and who else? Who
The
they playing?
Eagles are not playing Green Bay. Green Bay's playing on Monday.
Green Bay plays on. They play on Monday. Or they play Friday.
Oh no, Green Bay.
They play Friday.
They
San
do.
Francisco
I
plays
was
Monday.
thinking.
San Francisco
I was
plays the
thinking
Jets
Aaron
on
Rodgers
Monday.
plays Monday, which is the
Yeah.
Jets. My bad.
Yeah,
Green Bay plays Friday. They play
Green
Friday.
Bay play Friday. You're right. They both left the same day.
yep. Pretty sure I thought I would do that. I
Yeah,
thought I was
you're
on,
right.
Yeah.
That was my bad. I was thinking Green Bay, but I was still thinking Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, because Aaron Rodgers got hurt 4 plays in last year. You forget he's with the Jets sometimes.
Another green team.
Another green team, right? You know, there's a lot of things
It
happening,
influenced
but
the factors. Planes,
yeah,
the Jets,
planes, trains, and automobiles.
automobiles.
Yeah, but you know, we have a lot. Like I said, it's Ask Mikey. I don't know if we promoted it much on Twitter, but if we have not, put your questions in the chat. We will get to as many as we can throughout the course of the show. It's Football Wednesday, so it is. There's a lot of things that are happening. We're gonna have back-to-back shows, so we're gonna have a lot of conversations, similar conversations that we had yesterday. More news has come out today. More, statements have been made today by Brian Kelly. More analysts have talked about what they saw and breaking down of the film. A lot of the same things that we talked about yesterday because, look, a lot of you watch our show and just think that, hey, y'all do a great job with baseball. Just want y'all to remember, this guy to my right played football in college. Top 100 recruit. Won a national championship at LSU. He knows ball. We know ball.
Played a little
We've
ball.
talked ball. We enjoy
gamble.
football.
Just gamble on it.
Yeah, and that still knows it.
Yeah.
We enjoy it, so we like to talk it, and we do a pretty good job. I think most of the stuff we said before the first game of the season is pretty spot on.
I do think it's pretty funny though how people it was literally like hey y'all did pretty good breaking that down. Well, I mean,
I wouldn't
there's
do
a
it.
little bit of ball experience in the room.
We did play-
It was just throw that out there. I don't know.
So we have a college athlete, college football player, and
Part of it.
lifelong football fan, and
Mikey, we played the same amount of football.
We did play the same amount of football. We did. I did not play college football. Turned down some college football opportunities. But I did not play
Me
it.
too.
I did not play it.
Lloyd allegedly me too.
Yeah, that's true. That's a very good point. We played the same amount. You played all 4 years.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Play the same amount.
Played junior high too.
There you go. You too. Oh, there
Top
you go.
order.
Look, we have the same experience.
I would love to see Lloyd in a football uniform with the Thurman Thomas helmet with the bar down the middle.
Oh, mouthpiece still attached.
Well,
But it's hanging on one side because you got the bar down there, so they got to hang on one.
the Barstool guys.
Could be a coach.
The Barstool guys did the whole barn turn challenge. I wish we should do that.
Oh, that'd be great.
Well, I feel like
We can get a jugs gun out there and let you catch some.
Yeah,
punches.
yeah. Taylor, just looking at me, I think I got a little bit more talent than Mincy. Probably. I don't
Yeah,
think it would be
yeah,
as
no,
funny
no.
as you want it to be.
But I still think it would look fun. It would be great to have everybody in
idea.
uniform.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Oh, it's a great
Because
idea.
if you didn't know,
Oh, guy's already working the phone.
if you didn't know, Jared returned punts at LSU. So
You did.
yeah, I
experience.
did that too.
Yeah,
Might have been
so-
my only touchdown. Who knows?
by the way, I will say this:
Who's counting?
counting?
returning punts is scary as shit.
Oh, I loved
it's,
it.
it's not scary. It's one of those things where you're literally like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you just it's like the no regard for your body. Like, whatever, bro. I'm
back here.
The worst, it's okay when you're sitting there and you can kind of peek. And the worst is when it's a short kick.
No. But say not the worst is when
Yeah.
you get the punt and got the nice spiral
Yeah, it's
and it turns
nice,
over.
You have time. Yep, great.
The ones that don't turn over that you got to come up and get, and they got one
Oh, shit.
knucklehead that just don't pay attention to nothing. he got
Yeah,
no
shit,
regards
shit,
for his
shit,
life,
shit.
your life, or anything else that goes on the game day. He just hit the smelling salt. He ready to go crazy. Yeah, that's what you don't want. But it happens. That's the ones you don't want.
And thank God they changed rules because those guys that would run up there.
The old school
their
rules
helmets were over there.
was goofy, dog. They didn't have
decapitated, dude.
It was all the time.
The worst.
All the time.
Make
the
a
worst.
play. I'm gonna make a name for myself.
That's worse. Speaking of punt
You
returns,
think I'm not about to get on this highlight tape?
speaking of, we didn't even mention this yesterday. Our punt return game much better. We received it and returned it, not just fair catching it.
Came up and got one.
Right, came up and got one. In our punting, we didn't even give up any punt returns. No, they weren't long punts.
Oh.
They were short, average of 30. I think combined, we had 2 punters punt. Combined, I think they averaged like 38.
35.
No, was it 35? I think one was 38 and one averaged 36.
One of them really put.
Lloyd's so mad that he couldn't come on here yesterday.
But no punt returns given up.
And
Well, I
talk
knew that was
about
gonna
our
happen.
kicking game. He's so mad he couldn't come talk about that.
It worked out. And we had a kicker make a tackle.
Yeah, kicking game worked out. Aaron Burrell back there looked like
Well,
a four-star
I thought that was
safety.
his ass laying on the ground after too. I was like, oh no, he cooked. Oh no.
No, but he
It
got up
wasn't
and
him.
started talking shit.
I know, but I thought somebody got hurt on the play,
Yeah.
and if they pan back to him, and I was like, wait, that's the. Oh no. Oh, we good. Okay, we good.
But see, the only reason I was returned was because of the the knucklehead bonehead penalty. That made it go back 15 yards. You couldn't reach the end zone.
No, but it's our kick coverage though. We don't that's the problem.
No, there was
not the stuff that happens.
I will say, there was a massive block in the back that even Brian Kelly said they sent in to be reviewed. But it was on Deshaun Womack, and it was Paul Mbanga that got hurt towards ACL. He's out for the year. But
That's who got hurt on that same play.
Who?
Backup
Mbanga.
tackle.
Oh,
That's tough.
Yeah.
He needed this year.
yeah.
Even if he didn't play to get him right, because I mean he's got the inside track to be in the starter next year.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
Anyway, go ahead.
But no, I was just say, even as much as people want to blame, I guess, Kyron Lacey for what he did, that should have been called
black
back
in the back,
anyway. Yeah,
for
and
sure.
The fact that they even sent it in to be reviewed means it was egregious on the game,
Right.
like our tape that we watched on ABC. So I'd imagine they have 8 different angles. We're like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it has turned out that this official, Kevin,
Is that his name?
yeah,
Oof. It's not good for him that LSU
Kevin
fans
Kev?
know his name.
Kevin Ma, I believe. Yeah,
You said
well,
Kevin McHale.
Kevin Kev.
Oh,
but he's a Big 12 official, and there were Texas fans all over Twitter because I Twitter searched his name after I found it out, and this goes back years that apparently he is not equipped for the job. And before the game, people were saying, I feel bad for LSU or USC. He's going to pick one. And he goes, this man has been egregious every time I watched him when he lined up with Texas. So.
Well, I hope for his sake, because after hearing all the things that Urban Meyer said, which I'm sure we'll get back into a little bit later, you don't want
Meyer
to.
still saying things?
You don't want to be either a opposing player or opposing team and or a referee that LSU knows the name of, because it could turn out bad for you. And Urban Meyer's he's had some bad experiences here.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
Urban Meyer's had some experiences for sure. Bad, good on his end, bad on everyone else. There's a lot of Urban's been through a lot of experiences.
Chop House
Chop House.
had to sell his restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Put a statue up.
and he's still getting gigs on TV, dude. It's unbelievable to me.
Some people get a pass.
Exactly. But going back to the kicking game,
I mean,
we talked-
Florida would hire him again right now.
no shot. You think
Absolutely.
he's probably go back?
Yes, it's urbanmeyer.com.
Wow.
You just can't go back to Ohio State. Too many bodies bodies buried there.
Yeah.
A lot of bodies buried in
A
Florida
lot
too.
of bodies. Well, literally,
Literally.
literal bodies. Jesus.
hey, yo,
Well, the show's coming out.
you are.
Finally,
Yeah,
Says
the
the
real
one that
story.
came out on Netflix, not what we wanted to see.
No.
Like all it showed was Urban Meyer stinks. Honestly, it just made me not like Urban Meyer anymore. Like, how did you win with that? How did you win? They won in
Because
spite
he
of-
created Fight Club, bro.
Yeah, right.
That's basically what he
Right.
did.
And they loved it.
he
Yeah, they did.
created that.
But the return game for LSU, I mean, they almost broke the opening kickoff was almost taken to the house. I don't want to say taken out, but he almost
No, Brian Kelly said the same thing.
Had he not gotten swiped, he had a chance to go.
It was a crease.
Yeah, and that's the guy that you want hitting the crease. What do we feel about Josh Williams being returning it back there?
No,
I think he's back there as the
as the off returner.
Yeah. But the problem is they're going to kick it to him because they don't want to kick
We'll
it to
switch it up.
Thomas.
We'll switch it up. Yeah, that's no big deal. I've seen
Yeah.
that happen a lot. I've been
Yeah,
a part
yeah.
of that. What's going to happen throughout the week? They're going to scheme it up as best they can to figure out, like, hey, what are you doing most likely? then I would imagine at some point they're going to see who's back there, who do we not want to kick to. You have the all-SEC guy back there and or the off guy. They might try to kick it there, and then you'll just switch them. That's no big deal. It's just a little bit of a – it's an extra blocker or somebody who's willing to get back there and block and actually do something. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what I think.
Remember whenever they put Leonard Fournette back one time, he ran back to the house.
Yeah, against Notre Dame in the bowl game.
Like,
he also started off as a kick returner in his first game.
And then all of a sudden he took it to the house. I'm like, damn.
Leonard Fournette going up on a Tuesday.
I saw Leonard Fournette in Vegas in a suit, in the like open collar suit, bottom of the casino. The only reason I knew it was him is because he got the bald ass head with the big ass beard. And he's a big human being. I was like, damn, that's Leonard Fournette just hanging out by himself.
He'll get signed somewhat at some point this year.
He didn't get signed last year, though, did he?
No, not last year.
But he's been working out.
Him and Jarvis. Neither one of them got signed last year.
No.
It's okay.
Yeah, but
time.
Anyway, much to your dismay, the kicking game actually was not a liability. Kicker made both field goals, a long one, longer one.
47-ish, somewhere there?
45, like 45, 47, something like that, but made it with ease. No punt returns. They were short, but no punt returns was a huge thing, especially with the return they had. We had 2 returns. We had 2 punt returns. No, not just fair catches. And we almost had a kickoff return to the house. So that's positive. That's a good thing that we saw this weekend. But with John Emery going down, how do we like our running back room situation right now?
I mean, you got to insert someone who hasn't, really been indoctrinated at this level yet. But, it's LSU, man. They're going to bring in talent there. There's some guys they're going to have to mix and match and figure out what things work and how they work for each guy. Like you have guys like Josh Williams, you have guys like Caleb Jackson and Caden Durham. Those are 3 different types of runners. They do 3 different types of things. You're going to have to start finding ways to utilize what they do best in the game that they play and getting them on the field and kind of rotating them out that way. And I don't think you're really going to be able to go so much with the hot hand unless you're literally just able to crack them over the head a couple times with the same type of run or the same type of scheme. So it'll be interesting to see how they do it. Much like we talked about how much they were going to be moving guys in and out of the defensive front and that front 7, the running back room is going to play a lot the same right now, I think, going forward, and you're going to have to see some guys kind of graduate to that next level to see them get there. I personally would love to see Caleb Jackson take that.
Yeah, me too.
Hand. I personally would love to see him kind of take over and start kind of becoming the lead back, if you will, up there. We will see in due time. They got about 3 good weeks, 3 strong games, and 3 opportunities to figure it out before you get your next huge test.
Let me ask you this.
Huge test.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think Brian Kelly doesn't have the confidence in Caleb Jackson right now to give him the majority of the carries? Do you think it was because, hey, obviously Emery, ran the ball really well, so you're going to play the hot hand. I think Caleb Jackson only had, 4 carries?
Yeah, the majority of the time when you get backs that get to this level and they're not on the field a lot, like, let's be honest, Caleb Jackson doesn't get here because he forgot how to run the football. Right. It's not because of what he is or isn't doing usually with the football. It's the checks, the passing game, pass pro. Is he running the right routes? Is he blocking in the right spots? Is he good at understanding the checks and where is he supposed to be in those situations? That's usually the separator of getting it to him, because you got to remember, a lot of those kids in high school, they're so damn dominant, right? And it's usually out of the huddle into the play, like this is what you got, or they can literally just turn around and tell them like it's that easy. Sometimes you can't hear at this level, so it's hard to have that kind of communication. I would imagine that's probably got a lot to do with it, but that's where he needs to graduate. That's where he needs to go to the next level. And if he can do that, I think you'll start seeing what he can do as a runner, if that makes any sense.
I'm just looking at the group text that Lloyd made a mess up with about the guy who tore his ACL. Princeton.
Oh, was I wrong?
Yes, you're wrong.
My phone's dead.
That's a good out. That's a good out there.
Who tore their ACL? Was it not
Princeton Marlboro?
Malboro. Oh, I said Mbenga. I was pretty close. I was going off the rim.
Oh, you were, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely played different sides of the ball.
Yeah, 2 different people, to be honest.
Honestly, you said it at first, and I'm like, damn, that's weird as hell.
You know that he
left
was out
tackle
there
on the kickoff team.
Oh, they had Emery Jones out there.
A left tackle on the kickoff team?
You remember he's a freshman against Florida.
Left
I do remember that, but
tackle on the kickoff team? That was, you said it, I'm like, damn, that's weird as hell. But okay, whatever. Yeah, you were wrong.
I was PM. Pulmonary. We'll get to him.
We'll get to him. Yeah. At some point, he's going to make it. He fixed it. He fixed it just in time. But back to the running back. I agree with you. I think that's why I brought the question up, because it's not just the skill of getting the ball and running the football and gaining yards with the football. It's everything that goes with it. I think that what I like the most is you saw Nuss kind of check down, and throw it to his running backs, I think 3 times throughout the game. Caleb Jackson was one of them, had a 9-yard reception, got a first down. John Emery, first down. And Josh Williams got a first down on a catch out of the backfield. I think you're going to see a lot of that. Brian Kelly in his press conference today talked about how mentioned kind of what we talked about yesterday. They've got to figure out a way to keep the end at bay when you're doing your RPOs, right? If it's a run-pass option and your quarterback is not a threat to run and you hand it off, the defensive end is going to crash every single time, and that running back is going to get taken out of the game. It's going to put you in a position where you lose some of that creativity and use some of that element of surprise. He did mention that Nussmeier is athletic enough to pull the ball and run, obviously not Jaden Daniels style, but gain yards and become a weapon in that sense. But there's an issue with that. You have an issue with some of that. Why do you think that maybe he's hesitant on letting him pull it and run it?
Well, for everybody who doesn't know, when you have a run-pass option, you have a read man. There is someone you are reading. That read man is unblocked all the time. So if it's usually the end or that first person outside of the end, however it goes, if you don't have the threat of keeping him at bay, which is the opportunity to run or somebody or a throw right behind it, he is going to crash down every time and just blow up the play in the backfield. That's literally what it is.
Which we saw last week.
That's just old school football. That's all it really is. That's what happens. Now, when you have somebody like Nussmeier who doesn't present like the real threat or run for you right now, for LSU, I'm not sure they're sold on wanting to do it as much. Obviously, they're not sold on wanting to do it as much, but it's not necessarily so much because he can't run the ball like Jaden Daniels did last year. It's because of, you got to think, well, what do we have behind him? Well, we have a first-year guy in the system who's a transfer from Vanderbilt, and then we have young freshmen and young kids behind him that have not stepped on the field at this level. So it's really tough to sit here and say if we get this ball in his hand and he's running a lot more, you expose him to a lot more opportunity for injury. And if that were to happen, well, what do you have playing behind him as a quarterback position? I think that's kind of being the conundrum that they're in right now with that situation. But you're going to have to present some more of a threat in that situation if you want that kind of run to be effective. That's what they need to figure out.
Yep. And Brian Kelly mentioned that. It's part of the conversation. He said that they're going to allow him to run. Part of the danger of him running is him getting hurt, right? There was a threat of that from Jaden. Obviously, Jaden is a little more elusive and was more athletic as far as getting out of the pocket and running and making people miss. And now he got hit a lot.
Well, you got to remember, Jaden's made a lifetime of running, dude.
Right.
Like that's always been a part of his game.
And
Nuss
so,
being somewhat mobile, he is a pocket passer, and that's what he's done. That's where he's made his game.
Right.
Guys that have a history of running, like a long history of running, they're a little more used to getting hit. They're a little more used to protecting themselves. They're a little more used to finding ways to not get hit. So, like, that situation is different. It's just a different situation.
Yeah, if you saw, if Garrett Nussmeier gets into the open field like Jaden Daniels says, you'll see a whole lot of looking around. Like,
a lot more sliding.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm in the clear.
Yeah, a lot more sliding.
And Jaden Daniels is going, I'm going 80.
Right, and look.
But I still think he has the ability to do it.
No
And
doubt.
it's, like Jared said, it's a great point because you wanted to see it. And if they didn't want to do it in the first game of the year, it means that they definitely were trying to avoid it. But now that it became such a focal point now of what, obviously you lose John Emery, you have to have some sort of facet of a running game. If it's going to be Garrett Nussmeier showing something else so it makes it easier on the backs, now that's on the table. They wanted to not have to do this.
Well, you got to think, too. Like the other little side part of it is I think you can only learn so much by practicing against your own team in camp. Right? Mm-hmm. So, like, you can push each other around as much, but it's nothing the same as when you get in an actual real game and there's real bad intentions on the other side, if you will. Right? So, I think they went into the season seeing with the mindset of we feel good about our running game, which you should because you still ran for over 100 in the game. We feel good about our running game. Let's see where we're at without having to use this from the start because we don't think that this needs to be a vital part of our game. I think that they saw in that game that, hey, we popped a couple, and maybe we'll continue to pop a couple out through the year. But what we don't want is it to be so predictable in situations to where we get put in bad down and distances because we're so predictable with it.
Right.
So I think that's going to be the change on it.
No doubt. And I think a part of it last year was you had Nuss as the backup, which you were confident. And if something were to happen, confident throwing him. This year, you have a true backup where, like, hey,
You don't know what you're getting.
You don't know what you're going to get. The starter is the guy, and he's obviously the starter, and he's head and shoulders above the next guys, not necessarily just talent-wise. Like, I think Colin Hurley and those guys are super talented. They don't have the experiences. You don't want a true freshman, or you don't want a guy coming in from Vandy that came in as a starter from Vandy and now comes here as a backup. You don't want him taking many reps. I'm not saying that in a mean way.
No. But I mean, it's real. Like, it's one thing if you came in as a transfer and you came in to be the starter and you were getting all the ones reps. You have that rapport. You've built some of that. He doesn't have that. The number one was going to be the number one. He came in as a backup. So he doesn't have all those ton of reps to where if something happens on the fly in a game, all of a sudden we got to throw him out there, and he doesn't have that much experience with this group of guys. So it makes it a little tougher to say, let's just run our quarterback wild and we don't give a damn because we got somebody back here. It makes it a little tougher.
Yeah, I think if you can't – I mean, we talked about injuries obviously earlier in the year where you – with the Jacoby and Guillory scare where it was, man, you're thin on defensive line if you lose him. There's not another position on the planet for LSU where if you lose your quarterback, if you lose Nussmeier, especially after what you saw in game one of him as the starter, 30 of 39, 302 yards, 2 touchdowns, if you lose that, you can flush this thing. Ain't no year 3 Brian Kelly. Like, he'd probably be so relieved if it happened.
What?
Didn't have to worry about any of these expectations anymore. It's like, I got a perfect excuse.
You think that's how it works here? That would never be. And he would get cooked in the national media, too.
Lost the quarterback.
That would be such a wild thought. It's like, thank God.
Just pull the fire alarm at school. Like, I don't have to take the test.
Yeah, no. It's gonna be interesting. Like, it's gonna be fun. You're not gonna see a ton of
design runs or explosive runs, honestly.
Right, and you're not going to be able to see a lot. You're not going to be able to look at this week coming up and say, oh, they figured it out, right? It's just, hey, you're playing Nichols. You better put it on them and do what you need to do. We talked about this for the last 2 years on this show. After you lose game 1, the best thing you can do in game 2 against this team, it was like Southern, and it was Nichols this year, and whoever it was the year before, you got to go out there and you can take care of it, make sure the game's over at halftime. You're not going to be able to evaluate a ton, but
you will be.
You'll be able to evaluate if they.
I think you will
that.
Be. To me, there's a couple marks of like good teams to me that means a lot, especially in football, because you only get to do this shit one time a week, right? So for me, when you're facing an inferior opponent in football and you go out and you take care of business the way you're supposed to me that tells me a lot more than you being able to win in close games against teams that you're supposed to be good. In the sense of, and I mean this in the sense of, well, I hope to hell you can play up against another ranked team in front of 100,000 that's supposed to be just as good as you. I hope you can, because that means that's what you came here for. What means to me when I look at a team and see how they prepare and if they're ready and if they can take the challenge from week to week is when you bring that team in that's not supposed to be good, you make sure they're out of there early in the game. That means you came here and you took care of business. That means I know I have a mature team who's ready to take on the rigors of the season as opposed to, oh, man, like, we had to go ahead and sweat this out through 3 quarters. They ain't ready. I can't get them to do what they need to do. Missed assignments. Nobody's locked in. Nobody's paying attention to what there's no attention to detail. That's tough because now you got to go back the next week and try to coach that shit into them again. 100%. So, like, I love seeing bad teams come in and you beat the mess out of them early because that lets me know
you took care of business.
We're ready. And it gives people like the A.J. Swans, the Colin Hurley, whoever else in these backups to where if something did happen, they have game experience.
Yeah. Right.
That's what they're supposed to be there for.
Right.
You play these games for those guys to be able to get in at the end to be able to get some experience.
Yeah, no doubt. And then you move on to the next weekend. Then you finally start getting a challenge of like, hey, you got some guys that got teams that have athletes on the other end that could maybe compete with some of the guys you got. South Carolina, UCLA. Those games are going to be some of the markers where you're like, all right, let me see what they've done, the adjustments they've made, because now you'll have 2 games of film. They'll have 2 games of scouting LSU. How are they going to make the adjustments on these RPOs? How are they going to make these adjustments with how much is Nuss going to pull it? If they don't want Nuss running the ball, how are they going to keep the read man at bay? That's what I'm looking forward to watching and seeing the adjustments that are being made. Because I think if you go back and watch the game again, you're going to see the creativity and you're going to see that LSU was very prepared. And the play calls and the game call and the way they approached the game was very well thought thought out, and honestly executed pretty well for the most part. We talked about some of the bonehead mistakes and the penalties and those types of things, but as far as like, hey, preparation, scouting reports, game plans, and executing game plan, they did that pretty good. It's just a couple things here and there in big games like that. That's what when one team loses. Sometimes it's not a bunch of mistakes; it's only a couple.
What would be take me into the time machine if LSU was able to win that game where it felt like they were for a good portion of that fourth quarter? Like, what would be the talking points?
The fourth quarter
after the game?
Yeah, if LSU had won. It's like, what would people be focused on? Like, what would?
Wait. But you're talking from a lot of different standpoints. Like who are talking points for who and from what standpoint? Because you got to be a little more targeted with that.
I think if it went, let's say it was 17-13. LSU gets the 4th and 9 stop, no personal foul penalty. They go down there and they score a touchdown, put it away, hold them. Whether they give up a touchdown after that or give more points and they end up winning the game, I think the conversation is LSU was able to finally finish a game. Defense made us stop when they needed to, and the defense looked way better than they had the years before. And I think that the conversation will be in Nussmeier becoming a winner. You know?
Yeah, it feels like you gloss over a little bit of all the things that you focus on, the reasons why you didn't win, but it just feels like the result gets played so easily when if it's a win, you gloss over a lot of things that LSU probably didn't do as good as it should have, and they would have those answers. But because of the fact that you lost, it becomes a much different story when LSU played well enough to win that football game.
That's the conundrum of being a really good team and to consistently do it over and over again. I think a lot of people have heard Nick Saban talk about stuff like this a lot because, like you said, flip it around, they win that game. There's not as much chatter on the outside, so people don't hear players on the inside the building. They don't hear the nonsense that you hear right now. You also don't have players thinking they did anything wrong because guess what? We won a game. We found a way to win the game. Losses like this bring out usually the best and or the absolute worst in a team because it kind of lets you know who they are as people and where their character really is. And I would suspect that they're going to go out there and clean some stuff up just by watching what Kelly has done with this team or with these teams over the last 2 years, what he's done to be able to rectify things and get them back on track. I would suspect you'll start seeing a lot better team. But, yeah, man, like it's hard because when you win, it's hard to get guys to lock back in on a Monday because they feel here. Mm-hmm. You know, and they want to eat the cheese. They want to listen to everything. Everyone wants to pat you on your back. You don't want to pay attention to anything. I'm good enough. We'll figure it out. No, you're not. You're actually not. You didn't get it done. So I think losses like this kind of bring you back down to earth a little bit. And I suspect that they'll be a lot better and it'll be better for them going forward. It just gives them really razor thin margins the rest of the year.
What do you think the talking points will be? Like, what do you think?
Oh, I think
had it gone reverse, how'd they end up pulling that game off? What do you think the conversation's like?
Everything that you're focused on as to why you didn't, or like things that you didn't do would be, well, get ready when they do this. Like Caleb Jackson had 5 carries for 16 yards. Wait till he gets going. Like wait till you have, Josh Williams and, a better situation, or you start running screens. You start to like, that was a little bit of what LSU can do offensively, and then you start that obviously the defense deserves all the praise in the world, but then that's when you start being like, oh, the defense is 10 times better than it was last year.
Here's the thing too, like,
and if you clean some things up, like this is a really special team. I still think that.
No,
as far as for play calling and as far as for all of that stuff, I don't think you can look at it like that, and I simply don't think you can look at it like that because I can sit here and say, well, shit, you think USC emptied the clip and gave you the full playbook? No, they didn't. My point is both teams are in that situation to start the game, but like he alluded in that post-game press conference, the ability to finish, and I think now that's going to be more of a conversation from start to finish, is going to be something that's really under the magnifying glass for them, something they put together.
And who does that fall on?
Falls directly on the head coach.
It does, because we make fun of this quote all the time, but it's true. Attitude reflects leadership. Like, the attitude comes down from the top. If you want something done, you've got to bring that from the top down.
The expectation.
That expectation, the urgency, the discipline, the responsibility, the accountability, all of that, everything that Brian Kelly preaches, which I know he believes in, I know he's preaching it, but that comes from the top down. And I'm not saying he's not doing it, but he may need to do it more.
Yeah.
Because, look, They are significantly better this year than they were. I think LSU in week 2 this year is in a way better position than LSU was in week 2 last year, even with 3 first-rounders on their offense.
Yeah.
I think they're a more complete team in week 2 this year than they were last year. Defense is much better. I think offense is still really good and different look offense, but it's still really good. And I think there's not as many question marks, but the results ended up being similar with a loss. I think you were winning the game with 55 minutes into the game, you're winning, right? And so you just have to finish. You almost did it. Almost doesn't matter. And so I think that there's going to be a real emphasis on, hey, we can't fucking do that anymore.
Because y'all are good enough.
No, more than good enough. Like, y'all should have won that game. They're probably watching film. Oof. What do you think film was like?
I mean, you alluded to it a little while ago, but I guarantee you they watched that film and they're probably sitting there saying, that's a crying shame you lost that game. And they're probably sitting there saying there's probably like 3 plays where it turned the game. Not, oh, we did all of this wrong and it was up and down and in and out and we got outplayed. There's probably 3 plays where they're like, well, I literally wish we could have these 3 plays back and we'd be 1-0 right now.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Right. But that's the difference because you don't know when those 3 plays are going to come.
Right.
You don't know when those opportunities will be at hand. You don't know if it's the 2nd and 10 or if it's the 3rd and 1 or if it's the 1st and 15 that gets you to where you need to be.
And that's why I said, how did film study look? Because as a coach, when you're watching film and you're like, as you go through and you're critiquing players and you're like, oh, hey, Jared, this was good. And you go another play, this is good. And you start getting so frustrated because you're saying, fuck, there's a lot of goods. How the fuck do we lose this game? You know what I mean? And then you start the crescendo we're talking about before the show. That starts to happen in the film room, and all of a sudden everybody starts getting yelled at the end. You're like, damn, we're that close.
It's a weird thing, man. Like all of the best coaches I've ever been around, I've all heard them say the same shit, and like I've seen all the same shit. Like I've heard guys that I know that I played with talk about Bill Belichick, how he would sit in meetings. Lights are dim, team meeting room, everyone's in it, and they'll roll a play up there, and he'll have the laser pointer, and he'll just have it on the back person just messing the play up. And then he'll just run it back and have it on that same person again. And he'll run it back and have it on that same person again. Lo and behold, this is a game they won by 17.
Right.
Like, he'll do shit like that. I've seen Todd Monken sit in the receiver's room and sit here and literally tell Dwayne Bowe, who had 8 catches for 110 with 2 touchdowns, that this route is horseshit. Coach, I scored and I was wide open by 5 yards. The route's horseshit. Needs to be better. Like stuff like that, which sounds like, man, that's crazy talk. But that's the kind of stuff that brings the attention to the detail and the urgency and the standard that needs to be set, because that's how you have to approach the game, because you only get so many tries in a game. And if you don't do it right, the one you take off or the one you don't run hard or the one you don't finish or the tackle you don't go to the whistle on, maybe the play that messes everything up. You don't want that to happen.
They talk about the standard. This is the standard, right? They're like, wow, what does that mean?
Ceiling is the roof.
The standard is anywhere you want it to be. So if your standard is high and that's the standard, then that's the standard. So it's whatever you make the standard to be is a standard, and the standard needs to be higher than it is. And that's what those guys do. Hey, we won by 30 points, but this is sloppy. That's not good. If I continue to do that and allow you to do that, you're going to get smacked against Alabama, and you're going to get smacked against Ole Miss, and smacked against all these teams that are just as talented.
And the thing of it is, it's hard to introduce that kind of way of coaching or that kind of way of going about your daily routine in the middle of the year. That has to be something that is born and bred, and you continue to push on them from day one. Now, I'm not sitting here saying they haven't pushed on it.
Yeah, right.
Maybe it's gotten a little bit lax, but it can't be something that you let fall by the wayside and we don't hyper focus on these things throughout the next month or so, and then think all of a sudden once you get to the Ole Miss week we're going to talk about doing those things. Nobody will listen.
And look,
people won't buy into that.
I don't want people to get confused with us thinking that, oh, they played super sloppy and it was not good on the field. That's not what we're saying. We're saying they played really well except for a few plays, which is that's part of this example, is those plays made a big difference when it came down to it at the end of the game. And so every play matters. How you do anything is how you do everything type of thing. And you never know what is going to be the difference in the game.
And I can sit here and I can say this
because the inches are all around us.
They really are. Al would know. If you don't know, Al, but you know. But I really would say this. Like, I'll just take one play. I'll take one play at the end of the game where we sit here and we say, like, oh, what's he supposed to do? But, like, the last drive of the game, the hit by Jordan Gilbert. I promise you, this is conversations that they've had a million times. Where your head's supposed to be, how you're supposed to strike, how they do tackling drills, when they do it in one-on-ones, when they do it when they just thud. All of this stuff is part of the conversation. So when you sit there thinking like, oh man, but that's just a regular tackle. Like, no, it's not.
No.
They've been doing this shit forever.
They
will literally tell them you
targeting.
cannot do this shit. Yeah. And we've been doing this forever, and that cost us another 15 yards.
Right.
So you may think it's a split-second decision where it's, what am I supposed to do? That's why we rep it as much as we do. That's why you get in the cage as much as you do, because it's a split-second decision if you're going to hit that fastball or not.
Right. And here's the thing, right? The reason why he went in the way he went in was because it was a one-handed catch, and he was trying to jar the ball loose. I will say this, though. You have a better chance of jarring the ball loose when you go out and you go from the side and you hit the arms instead of going from the front and trying to knock the guy out.
Well, I don't think there was anything really wrong with
the hit.
Well, no, with the angle. It's head placement at this point.
Exactly.
You know, like the head placement is the inches that are around you. It's much like when you're a D lineman and you're supposed to be in a certain gap.
Yep.
Well, head placement says I want to be greedy and get in this gap. I'm done.
You're done.
Your head's supposed to be in that gap. So, like, it's not so much about the angle. The angle probably maybe could have been a little bit better, but the head placement.
You're right.
If he places his head across the bow and instead of right at him, and he hits him with shoulder, and instead of helmet, instead of crown,
And
you may dislodge the ball.
But you ain't getting a personal foul.
But you're not getting a personal foul. So that's 15 more yards you don't give away at that point.
And that was the thing, right? Like, so I'm sitting in the former athletes section, and you had like Glenn Dorsey and all those guys were sitting in front of us. Once he makes that catch and there's a personal foul penalty, everybody's leaving, right? Because now it's an extra point, or for the winning field goal, or end up being a touchdown. That doesn't happen. You hold them till fourth down, and they're probably not going to try to score. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to kick the field goal. This is a kicker who missed a 29-yard right.
Left middle. It wasn't even on the hash.
No. And almost missed an extra point right. So, kicker's kind of been a little shaky. Confidence, big moment in the game. At least you had a chance, it felt like, if you held them to that. So, I'm not blaming anybody. It's just those little things like that.
100 yards penalties adds up real
Exactly.
quick.
Yeah, I'm about to say, this isn't a blame on Jordan Gilbert, but like we said, 10 penalties for 100 yards, that's how you add more on. So it's those little mistakes where it's not some huge-ass mistake, but it's something simple of getting your head off the center piece of your target. Something that I guarantee you, they've talked about in practice and repped on tackling dummies, on people, or when they just wrap up a million times. But if you don't do it that one time, you end up getting yourself in trouble. You end up costing the team a little bit. Now, that didn't cost them the absolute game, but it's the freshest one in our mind. Why? Because it happened last.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, like, that stuff matters.
Yeah, well, it definitely, like Mikey laid out, for the scenario of, do you let them score now if you're LSU? Because now you're giving them an extra 15. If they just make that play and you get a stop, it's a total. You still feel like you have a chance.
You couldn't let them score there because you didn't have enough time anyway.
Right. That's what law. Like once that penalty hit, it was over.
I even take it back to this play. Like, if we want to talk about that play, little things like this, like they're in a cover 2 situation, right? So as that cover 2 boundary corner, you're supposed to make this man have an outside release. Don't let him go in. But there's no immediate threat of a number one coming into it. So when there's no immediate threat of somebody else coming into the flats, you're supposed to ride that guy, and you can get deeper.
Yeah.
Watch the play. Sage didn't ride him that far. If you ride him harder, you make that window that much tighter. That throw may not be as enticing for Miller.
And look, and it wasn't an easy throw. That's
why
it's one-handed.
And that's my point. So I was like, that kind of stuff matters. Where you understanding the attention to detail that you have to do these things at, and why the one time you let up, the one time maybe you just give him a little touch instead of literally riding his ass out there and making sure, or staying attached as long as you can5 you don't have that threat. The little times you let that up, bam, that's when they hit you.
And here's the deal. You ride him out there 5 more yards, and you tighten that window up. Now the room for, and Miller Moss still tries to fit it in. The area that Gilbert has to cover, take away the personal foul penalty, take away the targeting. The area he has to cover is so much shorter. That window is so much tighter. Interception is that is how interceptions happen, because the quarterback sees, okay, this is where the guy's supposed to be. It's the right read on the quarterback, but the cornerback does what he needs to do and tightens that window. Now the quarterback tries to fit something in. He's like, damn, I thought it was going to be different than it was. Throws it. Now the safety comes up, makes a game-changing play. And I'm not saying it would have been an interception. I'm just saying the likelihood of it happening that way once the window tightens is a lot higher than if it's not.
Yeah, even you don't even have to factor a turnover in if Miller Moss looks and
Complete.
sees it. Yeah, it's like I got to eat this, and now
Sack.
the way that LSU was getting pressure on the quarterback, he got hit a ton in
did.
that football game, and kind of kudos to him for standing in there because he did like to talk to the officials a lot, and they love to talk to him. Good pass, brother. Great throw.
Yeah.
And
No.
but he stood in there and
Yeah.
took his shots and made that's a whole shot throw that you got to feel pretty confident in yourself
doubt.
to make that rip.
No doubt. And look, like I said, LSU is in a better place this year in week 2 than they were last year. I have a lot of confidence in where they're at. Razor thin margins. Season's definitely not over. Have a lot to play for. I still think they can make a deep run into the season and make a potential postseason at-large bid at the end of the year. So I didn't expect to talk all this LSU stuff, but this is more. We went more in
depth a little
bit there.
And just before we even close that out,
Yep.
just to touch on that throw a little bit for you. If I remember correctly, that throw was from that near hash or maybe like that left middle. I'll be honest with you, Lloyd. As far as for just the throw itself, the actual throw, to be a Division I quarterback, it's not a hard throw. But the bigger hole you give him, the bigger window you give him, the more confident you are in just ripping it and saying, fuck it, let it out, let it eat. But the throw itself, because of the hash that it's coming from, it's not coming from far hash, that's not a hard throw. It's a 30-yard throw. It's literally probably, it's not that hard of a throw.
You don't have to stick it. You don't have to put a lot of air on it.
It's literally, you can let it go, so you don't have to layer it. You can just throw it and let it go, and it's everybody in Division I has the arm to make that throw from that hash. You make it that much easier for them if you don't close that hole up a little bit.
Right.
And we didn't do it right there.
Right. We have any Ask Mikey and Mitch questions?
We do.
Perfect. Thank y'all.
Let me get to him. I was looking at Twitter.
We should let our intern. We have an intern.
We have an
Growing.
intern.
We're growing. Intern Steven. Over here.
Nepotism is alive and well.
Listen to me. We got some sponsors coming in from our intern. We got, we got a lot of things happening.
Got a chair.
We got a lot of responsibilities for interns.
Mm-hmm.
It's our first intern.
Second.
But this is like first intern in studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Ask Mikey and Mitch. We have a couple of questions in here. Get them rolling in as well. So we'll do this all day if we want. First one up. Ask Mikey and Mitch from Fonz dominates the segment.
Perfect.
Ask him and him. There's no such thing as positives in a loss, but
No, that's not true.
But that D was gaming most of that game, not shut down, but definitely much better than last year. Do you take that as a positive?
Very much so. I disagree with there's not much positives in a loss. I think that there's no moral victories.
Ooh,
preach! I don't like the moral victories,
Ooh.
but you do take positives and losses for sure, and I think that is a positive.
Yeah, 100%. There's no moral victories. It's either win or loss. It's cut and dry, as simple as that. But if there's no positives, then there's also no reason to go out there tomorrow and practice and get better.
Right.
There's 100 positives. Now you take the positives and you make them like something that we go back on the next day and say, we made this into winning plays. No longer just positives, and look what we can do. They're now winning plays. That's the difference, yeah.
Lloyd, next. What?
Ask him and him.
Why are you laughing?
Saw a lot of good takeaway because I wanted to eat some of their Starburst, but I forgot I had to read this. Ask him and him. Saw a lot of good takeaways last weekend and think LSU will be fine. What group positively surprised you all the most?
I'll be honest with you. For me, that surprised me the most because I figured it might take a little bit to kind of get going, but I loved where it was at in game one is the cohesiveness of the quarterback receiver group.
Yeah,
it's a lot of new guys. You got some guys that came in the room that wasn't there.
Guys had a reception.
Yeah, 8 different guys. You only had one of those guys who had significant playing time, and you still didn't even have Chris Hilton in the lineup a little bit. And you obviously left. Kyle Parker left early in the game. I was surprised at how well they came out and were, a cohesive unit and running, and I liked what I saw there. I could sit here and say the defense, yeah, of course, but that side surprised me.
The easy answer is the whole defense. I'm not going to do that. I surprised. When I say what group surprised me, I have been very high on the defensive line before the season. So they played great. I wouldn't even consider that a surprise. To me, the way our cornerbacks played in the game surprised me. They weren't perfect, but they were significantly better than they played last year. There wasn't a ton of busts. you had guys making plays, but look, these guys at USC, these receivers at USC are really good, really talented, really big, and these cornerbacks did not back down. They had Ashton Stamps had 2 really good pass breakups. He got offensive pass interference in the end zone, got up, and I mean, that is great teaching by Corey Raymond. Says, hey, listen, I don't care if you're beat, go at the hands because that's where the ball is going to be. Go and attack. If you can't get the ball in the air, attack the hands, and that's what he did. Knocks it out. Same thing with Woodland, right? He got boxed out by a 6'4" wide receiver, and he attacked the hands from the backside and knocked it out. That's a true freshman after a pass interference right before. They went at him 2 straight times, and he recovered from that. So to me, I was impressed. I was surprised and impressed on how they played. They weren't perfect. They're going to continue to get better, but they were significantly better than they were last year. Didn't have a lot of guys running wide open. Lloyd, what were you surprised about? Kicking game.
I guess I would have to say that. Yeah.
No.
Was it? I guess surprised at what Garrett Nussmeier was asked to do and how well he executed it, because that was probably his biggest question mark, and they put a lot on him.
Being patient.
Yeah, from USC defensively, where they didn't give him very many deep ball opportunities.
They Patrick Mahomes him.
Right, and for him to be able to make those precision throws and stay within himself and stay like, all right, if this is what you're going to give me, I'm going to take it, because it's really easy to go one time like, fuck it.
Kirk Hershey was all over him.
Yeah, and I was extremely – it feels like you can almost do more with Nuss now from seeing that, and I knew he could always kind of do that, but that was the question mark coming in is if you keep everything in front of him, will he be patient enough to take those throws? And I was extremely impressed how he did.
I mean, look.
And obviously John Emery, but
yeah,
right. That doesn't matter anymore.
He threw
next year, year 7.
Yeah, year 7. I think what was really impressive to me, because it's really hard, is the layered throws that Nuss made. Right, the one that Mason Taylor dropped, it was tipped. I get it. It still got to him and got him in the face mask basically. But that guy who tipped it 6'6". Like on TV, it looks a lot easier to just throw it over that guy's head and drop in there. That's hard. That's a very hard throw, especially when the defender's 6'6" and jumping. You have to take into account for that. And he did that a couple times where he layered it and he put it on the money. And to me, I think that shows you the ability that he has as a quarterback.
Another thing that I thought was impressive, but it doesn't bear fruit in the game, but the ability to have, I guess it's the ability to cause turnovers. Like, you didn't capitalize on any of them, but you had the opportunity to get the ball.
The defense was flying around, man. There's a lot of hats to the ball. They flew around.
They didn't have a lot of opportunities for, like, actual interceptions, like, in the air, go and make a play, because Miller Moss was putting balls in a good spot. There's a couple balls that they batted down, but the strip sacks, that defensive line is going to cause some fumbles.
Havoc.
And they are going to cause some turnovers, and I think that's a huge thing, too, for sure. We have any more?
Oh, dude, we got a ton.
I thought you said you only had 2 in there.
They started rolling in. Once the
Fonz
segment
starts us off. Fonz, we appreciate you always.
Fonz is a great appetizer.
We appreciate
and
you.
Andre.
5-starter, yeah.
He is. Ask him and him. This is for Fonz.
Why does your camera always go a little blurred and then clears up?
It's the focus is on here automatically, but I can't change it.
You look great.
Right here I do.
You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look at you looking into the camera.
Yeah.
Just giving it some love right there.
Ask him and him. From Fonz. I'm not saying Nuss needs to run every RPO, but damn, pull that bitch and run for a few yards and get down.
No, look, we're with you.
I think that's going to be a part of the game going forward. Like, I really do.
You have to show it.
When it comes to Garrett Nussmeier running the game, do not look for game-breaking and or big plays. Look for him to continue to move the chains and keep you on schedule. Like, that's what he's going to have to do. And I think they're going to keep pushing him and implementing the type of plays where he's going to do that stuff a lot more.
On an RPO play this year, Garrett Nussmeier's longest rush may be 8 yards, maybe. But he's going to pull it on 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3 or 4th and 2 and take off and get those 4 or 5 yards and get to the next 1st and 10.
Even when you say they're running these RPOs on 1st down and you come crashing down trying to put us behind the sticks a little bit, if he's able to pull and get 5 or 6 himself and get down and not get touched, that keeps you on schedule. That keeps you where you need to go. And that alone will start slowing these DNs down, slowing these edge guys down, and that's where you want to be. So it's going to happen. I think there's a lot of feeling out stuff that goes on in the first game. It just sucks when you have to do it in a big game. Yeah. It is what it is, right? But there's a lot of feeling out and understanding who you are as a team and how you're going to be able to operate at optimism right there. And that's kind of the game where they're trying to figure out.
I do agree that Nuss will probably run some more, but if it's not that, are you a little surprised to not see the Mason Taylor motion play
I think you're going to start seeing it, and you may also see
Xavion and Aaron.
Oh, they
Anderson.
ran it a couple times. They just didn't actually throw it, and it wasn't to Mason.
Right.
The times they did it, they missed that. And I think they did that on purpose though. Like I think that was if you watch tape of LSU last year, that's one play you're thinking, hey, when you see Mason Taylor, you're probably thinking like, get on him. Mm-hmm. So I think they did that purposely, ran it with different people, gave different people the figures, and they just didn't always dump it to him. But they ran it. I personally saw him running a couple times.
Yeah, and the problem with that is like, and you saw LSU do it to USC a couple times where, because Miller Moss didn't pull it out and run much either, right? And so you saw LSU crash in and be able to play both and almost make Miller Moss fumble it a couple times.
Yeah, Perk got both of them.
Right? So like, we talk about someone out there having another outlet, him not pulling it. If you send, Xavion Thomas in motion and you pull and you say, okay, this is the guy you're going to either like have a little pop pass, you better hope that you have enough time to get it out and throw it, right? Because that's the other conversation is if they get in there and you're getting hit, you're going to fumble.
Right, and if it's you're kind of taking essentially. I know it could work both ways where you're taking somebody out to play defensively, but you're also losing a de facto blocker if they're not interested in it. You can't get it to them fast enough.
Right.
The thing is, dude, for everyone who does not know and really doesn't understand it, having a true quarterback who can run is the all-time equalizer. It is one less man on defense, and now you have everyone basically having to have someone to have to play a part for. When you don't have somebody that can run, it's a man up for the defense. When you do have that, it becomes an equal game at that point. So the way Jaden was able to grow his game to where he got a lot better in the pass game, it just became unfair because the running part was the easy part for him. The running part was what came first and what came natural for him. What he was able to do, I don't care who you are, you're not able to stop that thing. Look through the history of guys that are able to do it. They put up big numbers and it's hard to stop them. So like that's just, something that's going to have to grow, but you're not going to see that type of dynamic play in the running game from the quarterback position this year because he's not that kind of player, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's just going to be different.
When you put them both together, you win a Heisman Trophy. Like when you're able to throw it the way that he was last year and run it, it's like, oh, this is a cheat code.
Right.
It is. That it is.
Ask him them. How happy are you with Chester at center? I was very happy. Only the missed block at the beginning of the game on the blitz.
And
I didn't notice him at all, so it probably means it was a good thing.
Exactly what I was going to say. Didn't notice him at
If I got to go through a game and I'm like visibly noticing an offensive lineman outside of him pulling around and clearing out like two dudes as he's the lead blocker, it's not good, coach. So I don't really pay attention or watch. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really pay attention or watch much on the offensive line. I need you to be not noticed. That means you're probably doing your job.
You're going to notice tackles more because you're going to have a lot more blitzes that they're
I don't notice
up.
Tackles.
I'll notice a tackle if a guy's coming off the end and the guy picks him up. Like that's, you're not like staring at him, but they're more in the play sometimes because that's usually where a blitz is coming from like a corner or whoever. Like I didn't notice many blocks from Will Campbell except for whenever they brought the cornerback and he saw it and they changed the protection. He picked up the corner blitz. But if you don't see the center, you ain't notice him.
That's news to me.
That was the only one I noticed.
I'm about to say right now to this day I couldn't tell you. Off the top of my head I couldn't name one play that Will Campbell has had in his career here that literally is etched in my brain.
I don't pay attention. That was the one.
And that probably means it's a damn good thing.
You're right. I just remember that one because I was watching it from the top. I'm like, damn, he's coming, and I saw him point, and it was just a good
communication.
It was great communication, exactly.
Yeah, Chester did have the one. I guess if there's one negative, I guess you could say I don't really remember the blitz up the middle, but the fault like the snap infraction.
You talking about the play in the first half?
Yeah. Pump fake.
No. The first drive of the game where they turned it over on downs.
At the end zone. Yeah, that was it. Both guys went in. That guy came in.
But I don't. To me, that's not a DJ Chester play.
Me either. That's
where the protection was slid. So he went that way. This guy showed it late and came late. They out-schemed us right there.
Yeah.
They got us right there. We probably named the mic the wrong.
Exactly.
And like just stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
They got us. That's called one up on the chess game. That's not a DJ Chester problem. They beat us on that.
Yeah, agreed. Because if you go back and look at that play, he even moved Josh Williams to his other side. Nussmeier did. So he obviously identified something, and it was wrong.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes yes and no. You don't know because sometimes a lot of the times when they move their running back, they're literally trying to see. All right, they're trying to get you to identify what you're doing. So we're going to get you to move. If the line's moving, if somebody else is moving with them, there's a good chance. That's not necessarily because of that. Could be, could not be. I wouldn't point to that because we just don't know in that situation.
Yeah, I was just saying the Chester thing I saw was the like I said, the snap where they just mistimed, they had a snap infraction. Yeah, pumped it. Ask M&M. Do we see Josh Williams for a few plays, then see Jackson and Durham for the rest of the game?
No, you're gonna see them all. I don't think you see Josh for just a few. I think you see him for he's going to play. I mean, they need him to play. So
yeah, his rep count goes up, obviously.
No doubt. And look,
he didn't do a lot in camp. They kept him out for a reason.
He ran well too, right?
He's fine.
He didn't run. He wasn't terrible. He made some plays. He had some runs. You're going to see all three of those guys. I think you're going to see him and Caleb Jackson get the majority of the work.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Josh has got number 18 on for a reason. He's going to play, and he should be playing. And I think they all know that. I think they all know that. They all understand that. And they all want him out there as well. That's why he gets that number. But to that point, Caden's going to get a little more run, probably. I don't know if it is going to come immediately in this game, but I think it's well said that you would love to see the sophomore take a huge step forward and be able to play more of a 3-down back kind of situation and being able to do what his physical ability says he can do. And I think if they can do that backfield will start being maxed out about what they can do.
Yeah, because there were questions, at least in what's today, Wednesday, on Tuesday's press conference where they brought up Caleb Jackson and his weight because it was a story in the offseason.
Right.
And they said Brian Kelly's he's at 235, he's running 21 miles an hour. I think he's in a great spot.
Yeah, I mean, at these days too, people ask those questions and it's funny and they want answers, but they don't do shit these days without data being driven up on them, right? So he's going through an entire camp, all of summer, all of fall. They know that he can still operate at a very high level, and he obviously hadn't lost speed and he hadn't lost much of this. So, yeah, I think they're fine with where he's at.
Agreed. Ask M&M, what's your thoughts on going for it on the 4th down in the first drive instead of taking 3?
Again?
Real quick.
Yeah, you ask him.
We're doing this again. Kick the damn ball. We don't have an identity yet. I think if we had an identity, it'd be a different conversation. If it was a different situation in the game, it'd be a different conversation. I think at that point, early on, kick the ball. You got to remember, the other team on the sideline, they got a new starting quarterback. They got a new bunch of
new
people
defense that they just put out there.
They don't have an identity as
shredded.
well. So when you come out, you get ahead of them, in my opinion, you now put the pressure on them and say, hey, go out and match us and or do better, right? Mm-hmm. And look, I'm not really letting them off the hook with this because I still think you need to do this because I still think there's some precedent setting you have to do and kind of figuring it out. Maybe Brian wasn't truly expecting as good of a performance defensively as he got, or maybe not expecting it as early as he got it. And maybe if he was, maybe at that point he says, give me them points, go play defense. I think he learned a little bit more about not just the defensive side or the offensive side. He learned a little bit more about that entire team where I think he'll make better decisions of that going forward. But kick the damn ball.
It makes total sense as to why he did it last year. Whenever you have the tail of the tape, where this defense is not good.
Right.
I'm gonna try. We're gonna have to outscore a lot of people.
So I think in this situation, obviously yes, kick it. I think that's the thing. But if you are gonna be that guy who wants to go for it, I have no problem with that. But when you tell me before the game that you like to take the ball because the team analytics say the teams that score first have a higher chance of winning, and you have an opportunity to score first, then you score first.
You did the work.
Or if you're gonna say, are you gonna have that quote specify? You mean scoring touchdowns?
Yeah, right. Because look, I'm sure if the analytics looked at it, it probably said go for it.
Yeah, he said it did,
and I'm sure it did.
They always do,
right?
Yeah.
Right. That's what they say. Go for it majority of the time. I understand that, but it's the first game of the season. You've been in this situation before. Hindsight's 2020. I understand that. It's easy to talk about it now. If they score a touchdown, if they block that play and they end up scoring a touchdown,
we're not talking about it.
Not talking about it. But
You're saying look at the nuts on Brian
Get the
Kelly to
points.
go for it twice on that first drive of the game. He
look,
went for
hey,
it.
look, to his credit, Brian Kelly has not changed the way he's approached those situations since he got here. Season 1 against Alabama, going for it on fourth down. I mean, going for it, two-point conversion. Like, he's been that guy since he got here. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong.
You have to live with the result.
He's stayed on. He's been that guy from day one. But I like to get the points.
Yep. I wonder if flying in like 12 to 13 hours before you play was a bad idea, and maybe flying a day or two earlier. Maybe jet lag probably doesn't make sense. Just a thought.
Don't think that mattered. It didn't look jet laggy to me.
What about that performance looked jet laggy?
Also,
you asked. I won't be rude.
Being the person who flies, who's done that, like going from one side to the other and having to play, it's always the second day you get the jet lag, in my opinion. First day,
I mean,
like I play better that 12-hour whatever. It's when you get there and you kind of get settled is when I felt like the second day was always the worst day for me. I didn't see jet lag yet.
You got to remember too. I think those decisions get made off of the law of large numbers, right? Like they don't get knee-jerk decision as to, I think we should leave at this time today. I think we should leave at that time today. Those kind of things get worked into plans of, this is what we've seen for a long period of time that works best usually for our team or how we like to run our system and what we do, and they go and make those decisions.
Yeah.
So I don't think at all that had anything to do with being jet lagged. I think they played a great game. I think there was a lot of effort. There's just more to learn on the minute things that they need to do to finish, and I don't think that had anything to do with jet lagged or not.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't think they wanted them in Vegas for an entire weekend. Just
probably,
that too.
That's part of it.
Different place.
Yeah.
But they did change their hotel accommodations.
I know.
They were supposed to stay at Mandalay Bay.
Yeah, I was staying there.
And I think BK was like, "What are we doing?"
USC did.
Yeah.
They stayed at the Delano.
But they got that's a much easier trip.
USC came out of the hotel, and Allie, my wife, walking into the elevator, coming back from the pool party. So, we've had a few drinks, and she goes, "Oh, look, it's USC." It's and he goes, "Oh, look, it's the Gamecocks."
Oh.
I said,
what a brain to have.
Honestly, I was like, that was the best shit talking you could have done. Because they both are USC. That was the best shit talking you could have done. She goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "They're the Trojans." But we're gonna keep that.
Yeah. There's one color that's the same. Yeah.
It was the players, and I was like, the guy started laughing. I was like, "Oh my god."
What are y'all going for? Ask M&M. Do y'all think we're gonna be more disciplined? I guess. Do you think? Yeah, we are gonna be more disciplined from here on out. Because just like standards, doesn't that need to be introduced day one, or do we see this a little bit every now and again all season?
Listen, it wasn't the 90% of the game was disciplined. It was that 10% that cost. I think that they are going to be more disciplined. I think that those guys are going to understand that. You would hope, right? You would hope that they would do it. I think that they will.
100% think that they will. I think it was a kind of a learning lesson for Brian. I think every now and then when you kind of lax on stuff like that, it kind of goes away. I would imagine going forward through the rest of the year, this is something that he will not stay off the gas pedal of. I equated it yesterday to when you tell your kid to stop making his bed or stop putting his shoes away, sooner or later, he's going to stop doing it and it won't get done. You know what I mean? I think you saw a team that maybe was going so well and you felt like you didn't need to tell them those things, and it kind of reared his head a little bit. I think going forward, those are the things he continues to stay on top of, or make sure that he has his position coaches staying on top of, to where they don't become a problem.
Well, look, and it was an emotional, very hyped up. You had a bunch of adrenaline. From the first catch of the game, Kyron Lacey was fired up. Like, a lot of emotion. Sometimes those things happen, but yes, I 100% believe that stuff will get fixed.
All right.
Is that it?
Ask M&M. No, we got 4 more.
Okay.
Ask M&M. Do the coaches trust Garrett Nussmeier? And do you think he has the green light to change the play? Because he's stuck with the called run play instead of seeing the cushion the USC DBs were giving our wide receivers.
Well, first of
I don't
all,
think he's stuck with anything because there's somebody in his ear until 15 seconds before the snap anyway. That's one thing. And 2, I think they trust him if they let him throw it 38 times in the game. I'm pretty sure they trust him a lot. And this is year 3 in the same system.
Yeah.
They trust him a ton. He's going to do a ton when it comes to at the line stuff, when it comes to however they go about, they're not going to sit there and kind of pigeonhole him and tell him throw it to one or throw it away or run this and there's no checks and all. Yeah, they trust him a lot.
100% of trust in the touchdown he threw to Aaron Anderson was all him. He checked that. He moved him around. He changed into that play. He saw where he needed to go. He made the throw, touchdown. Obviously, both USC guys ran into each other, helped, but they 100% trust him.
Ask him him. If anything, what do you think we should just absolutely worry about this season with LSU?
Well,
like if you have one main concern it's going to be around a lot, I guess.
My main concern would easily be for me health on the defensive front, because I do think the health and the ability to rotate as many as they have, because like I said, I've talked about it before. I don't believe that they have a Glenn Dorsey. I don't believe that they have an Ndamukong Suh where it's that one dominant presence that's going to be out there for all of the plays. I don't think they have a Tyson Jackson. I don't think they have those guys. So when you don't have that front end, top of the line type of talent, the ability to run and keep running and rotating a bunch of really solid ball players that's going to give you top-tier effort, I think is huge. And I think the better you're able to stay with depth there and you're able to continue to do that without injuries or people not being able to be a part of that number that they kind of factored in from the beginning of the year, I think it's going to run huge for them this year.
I agree.
Attrition goes there, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think the injury on the defensive side as a whole, but most importantly on the defensive front, because it showed game one, the defensive front showed that they have a chance with that depth and the fresh legs and the athleticism to be a real force and to be a different. I mean, they almost
69 rushing yards.
Right, and they were almost a difference maker in the game by forcing fumbles with sacks. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing for us.
Yeah, health.
Health.
Ask him. What's the pressure of only having one more game able to lose to still make the playoff?
It's a lot of pressure. It's huge. That's why the magnification of that first game and who they were playing and how it was going to be, the outcome of it was so big. It's not something that's impossible, but it does make the attention to detail and what you have to do and to understand that there is no other like lax periods you can truly have going throughout the year. It just makes it that much more at the surface of everything that's going on. So I think it's either going to, like they say, pressure either makes diamonds or it makes
bust pipes.
There you go. So I think what you're going to see going forward is which one do we have? A bunch of diamonds or the pipes are going to get leaky and you're going to start seeing the fingers being pointed and you're going to start seeing people with their head down and throwing their arms up and all of this. I think that's what you start getting going forward.
Yeah.
I think it creates
the margin of
very razor thin margins. So there's a ton of pressure there. I think that it's you're 0-1, but even if you take that, you're back to before the 12-team playoff started. Now you can't lose more than one game. This is a whole new
Final
season.
four.
Let's take the one game out. It's a whole new season. You have 11-game season. Can't lose 2 games.
Win the SEC.
Yep.
The Ole Miss game will be paramount. It feels like
this is the first game of this is the first year where you can literally truly look at like that 10-win regular season mark as almost, especially in a conference like this, is almost like a lock.
Yeah.
So you look at like, hey, you got 2 losses that you could possibly have in the regular season, especially with this conference, because in this conference, if you're able to do that, there's a high chance that you're in the SEC championship. If you're in the SEC championship, there's a very high chance that you're ranked high enough to where you'll be somewhere in that final 12 number outside of you getting absolutely your doors blown off in the SEC championship, right? So I think this is the first year where you look at that 10 game, like we just need to get to that mark, and I think it's a very solid number to get to. Well, now you got 11 chances to do it.
And last year we were being overly positive on they're going to get better. Let's see how they improve on defense. They're not going to improve on defense. This is what they are as a defense.
See how many points you can score.
We just got to score a bunch of points. Like, you never really saw,
it got worse.
They never saw that. This first game, it feels like, okay, this was really good. I see how they're going to continue to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am excited to watch that progression so that when they are playing against the Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, A&M, that's going to be a physical, intense, game, and I believe the defense at that point is going to be an issue.
I mean, you can. There's only one other game I think on the weekend that you can look at and feel like it was as highly contested and well played ball game, and that's probably the game that happened down in Kyle Field in A&M. This, to me, when it comes to competitiveness and execution-wise, this was the best game of the weekend.
It was the highest level game.
This was the highest level of play that there was on the weekend. So make no mistake about it, they played a great game. They really did. They also played a great opponent who came in there and played a great game as well. And you were on the losing side of it. Hopefully, going forward, that's a huge teaching lesson to this squad because they're a lot better than 0-1 on week one, what we traditionally know as college football, whereas the sky's falling if you lost game one.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're that team this year.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that you'd have to be concerned with is because you have now this loss, it becomes if you are one of those teams kind of at the end where if you lose to Oklahoma or if you lose in the SEC championship.
Yeah, but you can't worry about that right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's where this does come back to hurt you a
For
little
sure.
bit.
And look, if it comes back to hurt you at the end of the year, comes
where
back
you're
to
the
hurt you.
team
Yeah, like
leader.
that stuff we can talk about, that won't
No,
even be
for
mentioned
sure.
inside the
No,
building.
and look, I can promise you they're watching film and these guys are leaving the film room and like, damn, we're pretty confident in what we got because
For sure.
we did that to ourselves. They didn't do it to us.
Ask him and him. Last one up.
Last one.
Did LSU baseball believe in the slump buster back in the gap?
Oh, my God. I think Lloyd put this
You
in
left
there
this- you
himself.
left this last
Lloyd
little
put this in
version.
there himself. It's unbelievable. I don't know. What is a slump buster?
I've never heard one of those.
I don't know what that is.
I went on the team. I don't know.
You just got to get a hit, dude. I don't know. Get a hit somewhere. If
Did
you ain't
LSU
getting a
midweek.
believe in it?
Gotta get a hit.
Some
Keep
guys
swinging,
may have.
cuz.
I didn't know what it was until after I left LSU, so
Just missed it.
just missed it.
Yeah, your family's here. I'd hate for them to.
Just missed it.
Oh, my God.
Heard it works though.
One more. We got two more at the buzzer. Ask him and him. Which game do we have the less chance of winning? Ole Miss or Bama?
The lesser chance of winning?
Right. I mean, both at home.
This is hard for me to answer.
Also,
because,
both after bye weeks.
Yeah, this is both after bye weeks, both at home, so you have those two advantages. It's hard for me to answer because of what I saw from them the first week of the season, meaning like they didn't play anyone.
Right.
You didn't really get a chance to see where they are and
Yeah.
really measure up what kind of team that they have. I'm going to say, you said the lesser chance of losing or lesser chance of winning. I'm going to say the Bama game only because of, Nick's gone.
Bigger chance of winning.
Bigger
losing
chance
that
of
game.
losing that game. I'm gonna say it only because I know Nick's gone. I know it's a new regime, but there's still so much in place of the championship pedigree in that building and in Tuscaloosa that stuff gets carried down usually, and it takes a long time for you to get that shit out of there. Doesn't matter how good Ole Miss is right now. They still are. They're the unknown. They haven't charted those waters. They haven't been to those depths. They haven't done those things. So they're still trying to go and make a name for themselves. Bama still is Bama right now. Let's just be honest and tell the truth about it. And you got a quarterback who got a lot of experience, who's a lot better. And if he can get and continue to mature his passing game the way his running game is right now, once again, that becomes a problem. So I still think that they're more of a problem right now than Ole Miss is.
I agree.
And if we were to start learning.
This is not an insult to Ole Miss, but
No, but they still got to go prove
They
it.
scored 73 points
Yeah, they
against
still got to go prove
Furman.
it. Yeah.
That's what you should do. And if you want to be able to kind of start watching Ole Miss and have a good feel for them, watch the Kentucky South Carolina game this weekend because Ole Miss plays both Kentucky and South Carolina before they match up with you, and you play Kentucky before you match up.
Well,
so you
I-
play South
And
Carolina.
I think,
before you
I
match
think
up
the
with them.
common opponent of South Carolina would be a good test too.
I really don't even believe in the common opponent
Me
thing. I'm going to
either.
be honest with you.
Look-
And it's simply because I think styles make fights. You know what I mean? Like, they
Yeah,
play different styles
true,
of game. They do
true.
different things. You can't sit here and say because they did this to South Carolina, unless they play exactly like we play, that this is going to happen that way. So I really don't care about that. But I do want to see them play those games just to understand what's really under the hood. Because I don't think we got a good test of being able to see that with them playing Furman. I mean, they had the third string quarterback in the early fourth quarter.
Yeah, Walker.
Like they had, I think your boy was out at halftime with like 400-something yards
Yeah,
thrown and
6
like 6
touchdowns.
touchdowns. That's not a real
Then
game.
Walker got
Put it on
the-
Heisman.
as a
Yeah,
third-
but-
as a third string.
I'm telling you, it's a slippery slope.
It's tough.
He'll be fine, dude. You don't even have to play football anymore. You're a
not
coach.
hitting
He's not? Oh, and that was a bad deal. Put the carrot before the horse. I bet it was fun.
Is that
for a
it for
while.
Ask Mikey Mitch?
Yeah.
Ask Mikey Mitch brought to you by our friends at Mead Heavy Civil.
Styles make fights.
Before we get to the segments, fantasy football draft. Jared and I's team, our league, it's our fantasy football draft tonight.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase gonna play this weekend or not? We think
Yes.
he's gonna be back. He's
Yeah.
done. He's ready.
Yeah.
Contract's gonna be signed tomorrow.
No, I don't think so. I think he's gonna play.
You think he's gonna play without a new contract signed?
Hell no.
I don't think he's gonna. I think the contract's gonna get signed.
I think they should, but him being back at practice today and also Joe Burrow's comments on it, I feel like he
What
does.
did Joe say?
They're like, how do you look? He's like, he's ready to go. Like for Sunday, he's like, yes. So that makes it seem like he's going to play. I don't think he would.
I love that there's not a lot of conversation on Joe right now. Joe's about to be a killer this year. I really believe that.
Yeah,
I may draft him third overall.
How long will it take? Joe.
Yeah, Joe. That's what I'm
Panic.
taking. I'm third overall because he had a bad year.
Jamar.
Had a bad year last year. No, I'm taking. There's.
Well, don't
you
tell
know
him.
who the top three are. So
I don't.
The top three, it's interchanged. Like it's McCaffrey's going to go one. Tyreek's going to go one of the next two. And then who would be the third
CeeDee
one?
Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Robinson may get who if they love him, maybe Bijan.
You'd be an idiot. I think
I know.
those first three are probably locked in.
Yeah.
I think it gets harder probably at 4 this year. Seemingly. That's what I think.
All-time move if you really were down on the Saints to take Bijan and be like, good, I'll enjoy 2 of these games a year.
I'm not taking Bijan. Not third overall.
I think you'd be a pretty bad fantasy manager if that's your reason for taking him.
I won
Just for 2 games. Just those 2 games, I'm taking
I'm
him.
taking Bijan because they're playing the Saints. So I know they're gonna be good at this.
All right, Seggies. Mistake of the day brought to you by our friends at Dozy Plays.
Ask him and him. If we do lose 2 more, but only 1 to an SEC team and make it to the SEC championship, do you think that helps LSU get in?
If they won the SEC championship,
There's still a world where
you get in with 3 losses.
no, I don't think that at all.
I think so.
If you lose to, let's say you lose let's say you lose to UCLA, and you lose
fucking
one more
flush
game,
the season.
and you lose one more game to an SEC team, you make the SEC championship and you win it, you're in.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's
If you
3
win
losses.
if you win your conference, you're in.
I don't think so. Like I think honestly, I think the best route for them to being in with 3 losses is to lose to Ole Miss. If there was to be another loss, it will be another or the only. At that point, it'll be your only SEC loss. If you lose to them, it'll be your second loss. Then you go into the SEC championship and you have a really good showing.
Oh yeah, maybe
I think that's the only
Yeah.
chance you have of getting in with 3 losses. But other
without
than that,
without winning the SEC championship.
without winning yet, and other than that, like I don't think it's a good idea to lose to And honestly, at that point, like I
agree.
guess it may be a little different, just because you'll be in the SEC championship and maybe it'll be that only loss in conference. But losing to Alabama and or Oklahoma because of when it is in the season, and then say you go again and lose again in the SEC championship, no matter what the score is, that to me will be really tough to get in. I think your best chance if you're going to have 3 losses is losing to an Ole Miss, and obviously they need to have a really good season following it behind as well. So, but you're looking, it's slim getting to 3.
Yeah, don't do that.
That Oklahoma game is, I've got a feeling, going to be
My birthday.
very
My birthday.
bet it.
And it's a cheerleader reunion, apparently. Allie was like, it's my cheerleader reunion. I was like, it's my birthday. Yeah, but it's my cheerleader reunion.
Do they wear the
Cheerleader
uni-
reunion.
Yeah. If you
Who
go, my
gives a shit about-
birthday.
Who gives a shit about my birthday?
Yeah, you go over
I'm
there,
too
I'll go
old.
over here.
Yeah.
Do they wear the uniforms again? Break it out the glass?
I think it's a very quick little deal for them.
It's not like the Golden Girls reunion
I don't think so.
where they go on the field
No, I think they go in the field.
and they do a little performance.
No, I don't think they'll do that.
Let Mike the Tiger out the cage. Jump
Right,
off
right,
of the
right.
cage.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, one mistake of the day. Brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place. Did you already give that?
Brought to you by Doe's Eat Place. Mistake of the day. I would love that food tonight, but I'm not going to have it.
What are you talking about?
I'd love to have Doe's soon.
Oh, yeah, me too. We need to do it. Hey, listen. Me and Baton Rouge a lot more now.
That's true.
So, I could be doing that.
Mistake of the day, quick one. Our buddy Mintz, as you highlighted, Barstool was doing some things that are obviously very fun, very cool. They're doing a de facto pro day, and they're catching punts. Mincy, right idea, bad execution, threw on the old wide receiver gloves.
Didn't it look like Mincy ripped his knee in half when he tried to catch one of those punts?
That's very likely. But
Great.
it also doesn't help if you don't have the gloves on the right way. You put them on backwards, which is almost unfathomable, but it is so on brand for this man.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Them on backwards.
Sticky parts on the outside.
He did it on
He put
purpose.
him on- no! This is a man that went to the wrong wedding.
That's
And
what
stayed.
I thought.
He's like, I don't know anybody here. It's like, buddy, you're at the wrong place.
That's amazing.
That is
On the
amazing.
right way? Nope.
Honestly, like,
Oh my god. Oh. Would have never
Barstool
known.
makes so much money on making fun of people, like they're just shortcomings.
You could be
know?
you could be yourself.
I love that, and that's great. I think that's a great thing. That's a great mistake of the day. What?
Just
How does? Damn. This is why is this?
never
thing
put him
the
on
outside?
before. You know, like if you've never done
Just
it.
use a little common sense.
Well,
there.
they don't. That means your left hand is on your right hand. Your right hand is on your left hand. So it should feel very awkward.
Yeah, and the safety stuff's on
It's on the
top.
outside.
And the strap is on the bottom part. It's not. It just doesn't make any sense.
Those have to be.
Actually, that was probably harder for him to figure out how to
Absolutely.
do to put that on that way than normal.
Yeah, like struggling over there. It's like, man, this guy can't get his gloves on. It's like they're sticky on the outside.
Not good.
Wow. All right, that's a good one. Curtain call brought to you by friends at Perkins and McKenzie.
I saw this making the rounds on social, and with my proclivity to make fun of LSU special teams, especially the punt game,
Oh, did you
maybe
take
put
mine?
this one into the.
You took mine. We did. This is ours.
Okay, we'll do it together.
Yeah.
Maybe this is one that this is a big brain football move here.
Fake punt of the century.
Fake punt of the century, where you can't tell what the hell's going on. The underhand heave ho down
So
the field.
first of all, can we break this one down?
Absolutely.
So football game, loud,
great.
right? The guys who are running backwards to go and block for the punt returner do not see
The ball go up.
the ball go up.
They probably don't hear it either.
They don't know. Yeah, they can't hear it, right? The defensive linemen who are trying to, which very piss poor effort right there, trying to go after the ball, right? First of all, we got to tighten that up. Whatever team this is, but defensive lines going after the punt or attempting to go after the punt, and so they're not going to turn around and yell at the returner because it's loud and kind of hard to do.
Peter.
So what the punter does, instead of punting it, he underhand tosses it really high up in the air like it would be a punt. And what does the returner do? Nobody needs to touch it because it's a fumble if you touch it. And they're not going to block anybody from catching it because they're just trying to down the punt. What an amazing fake punt. It only works in high school for sure.
It's great. No, I think it could work in college or pro ball. It'd be great to see. Not in pro ball because the punt's a little too. There's a chance that you can have a goofy punt.
One time.
It'll only happen one time, but you got to get your actual team to start yelling Peter too. So start really confusing people around. Peter.
Ooh.
And then one guy just
That's it. It'll work. Listen.
I like that.
When I was in high school, I would always try to figure out how can I come up with a really cool trick play. I had one where we were under center and I would spread my legs out and he would snap it right through my legs to running back. And my offensive coach was like,
maybe.
Damn, that kind of works. We tried it in the scrimmages and it worked once, but the center couldn't figure out how to get the ball right back there. Accurately enough. He did it one time great and it worked, but other times it would just roll or he'd hit my ass or do something, but because I was real low.
Right. You gotta get up there, get on your haunches.
But yeah, so I love that. I respect that. That was great.
I mean, do you think that this kid plays other than that? Like, was he out at practice and he's like, Coach, look at what I can do. Like, I can throw it pretty far underhand. Like, dude, you got one thing.
Based off of his physique and his stature, I think that's his position. He probably kicks the field goals too.
You don't think he's a 3-tech?
No.
I mean, he was definitely at practice, did that once, and they're like,
wow.
Hey.
It's like the referee throw.
We'd love to see how that came about. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right. You got a curtain call?
Yeah, the curtain call is bro, I don't know what's going on in the game these days. Like, we kind of talked about it a little bit. But I'm going to go back to the baseball side of this thing a little bit. Ben Joyce, last night. Now, look, it's not the fastest pitch in history. That would be 105.8. Last night threw a fastball on the dot, on the button, on the black, 105.5. And it looks like the guy swinging at it looks like he is swinging 2 years behind the baseball.
That's so hard.
Someone throwing that hard in a real game is just absolutely goofy to me. but we I won't say we're seeing it because it's kind of 1-on-1 or 1 of 2, if you will. But that shit is impressive. I'll give a curtain call of that because that is impressive.
I've seen 104 twice,
and to be able to control it and throw it in the zone, that's another thing. Like that's next level, man, and that's.
I've seen 104 twice. I saw Aroldis Chapman 103 point whatever whenever it was closing for the Yankees, and I saw 104 mile an hour sinker from Jordan Hicks, and it's just.
What are we doing up here?
And Jordan Hicks was like, it would move this much.
Yeah.
So it's a different world. And that guy's throwing 106.
And you saw, I forget which player it was in Major League Baseball, but he was complaining about pitching. Right?
Oh, Whit
now.
and look,
but look,
I agree with Whit.
No, we've had this conversation before.
I'm glad
we brought it up because we used to talk about it in the sense of, so the pitching difference kind of started like a while ago, right? And then it kind of first started with like the high fastball. Then they kind of figured out, hey, throw the high up and in fastball. Now you see every hitter wearing the pad on their hand. And now you start seeing that guys used to, okay, well, if I'm trying to throw up and in arm side fastballs to people and I miss, where am I missing?
Right.
That's how Giancarlo Stanton gets hit in the face and you get all those kind of things, right? So like that became the scare for hitters. And now you're bringing up guys who you don't tell them, you don't care where they're throwing. You make the catcher set up middle. I don't care where this goes. Throw it as hard as you can, and we'll see how it goes. And that becomes a problem because that's not the evolution of baseball. That's dumbing down the game of baseball and making baseball like long drive.
Yep. And back before this all happened, guys threw hard, right? Obviously, there's more guys that throw hard now than they did before. But back then, if you came up and in, and you didn't have a lot of accuracy, and you didn't have control, and you're losing an arm side, and you're hitting guys up and in, the retaliation and the way that you would self-monitor that and self-police that is your pitcher then would go hit their guy, and it would be like, hey, you hit our guy, we're going to hit your guy. Or if the pitcher's doing that, the National League, they used to hit, and they used to get hit.
Yeah.
And now you say, hey, listen.
There's none of that.
You don't want to get hit, so don't fucking hit our guys. None more of that. So there's no more self-policing anymore. There's no more protecting the hitters in that situation. It is, hey, throw. What you're seeing right now is a better version of what you see in the Gulf Coast League, which is the lowest level of minor league baseball. And it's these 16, 17-year-old Latin guys who throw 1,000,000 miles an hour and have no idea where it's going. That's what you're seeing right now is these guys throwing super hard. Now, obviously not Ben Joyce because he's, he knows where it's going, but these guys are throwing hard and they have no idea where it's going. All that matters is they throw hard. And it's starting now at a younger age. And
because they're bringing these kids up here sooner. And like I said, it's no longer about being able to place and do what you can do with this. It's throw it as hard as you can. I can remember always coming up, you would have guys that would come back down to AAA that could, if they wanted, sit between 96 and 98. Well, when they tried to throw that shit in the big leagues, they were walking the house and they couldn't hit spots and they were getting behind in counts and they were having to throw it over the plate and they were getting hit hard. So they'd send them back to AAA and now they're sitting at 94 to 96, but there's more control and they can do what they want. And they're throwing with better numbers down there. So we're taking that part out of the game. We don't care. Come up here, spin it as hard as you can, throw it as hard as you can, and we'll figure it out from there. And now you're getting guys that don't have a feel for pitching, not throwing, pitching, playing at the top level of the game, and there's no regards for anybody else that's hitting, and there's no consequences, and there's no repercussions about it. And that becomes a problem. That's not the evolution of baseball. That's watering down what baseball is.
Similar to what Tom Brady says about the quarterback position right now in the NFL. The rules and the way they've created that, it allows for the quarterbacks to get away with things that they weren't able to get away with back in the day, as far as throwing balls over the middle and not getting your receiver decapitated like they used to. All these types of things, it allows these quarterbacks to not be as sharp. Similar stuff. So, but Ben Joyce 106 miles an hour is very hard. And it was a strike, and it was painted.
106 miles an hour down on the corner.
Yeah.
Not up at the top of the zone. That's so impressive. That's so impressive.
But as impressive as this.
That was Luda with the fake big arms.
With the fake big arms, which was incredible.
Who thought of this?
I don't know, but I loved it.
Luda.
It looks so funny, dude.
It's like if you look at it from the front, it kind of looks like that's kind of
Yeah,
looks
you
real.
just yeah.
Damn.
You've been in the gym.
Yeah, and you turn around, you see the big slit in the back of the arm and the watch, and you're like, okay, that's not real, obviously. Good show, boys.
Also,
What is this?
LSU made it to Message Board Geniuses on Twitter. It's time to start treating these fun openers like business trips. I'm not talking about for the players. I'm talking about for the fans. We're obviously distracted when we schedule these exciting openers in neutral spots. These coaches are distracted. The players are distracted. Can you blame them? Just as disappointing, the fans are distracted. It's time to start treating these openers like business trips. And I mean that from the front lines. We have to travel to these games and take pride. We used to travel to these games and take pride in drinking and partying in fancy cities when we need to be focused for the reason we were there. A friend in the office showed me a video of some trumpeters playing neck in a casino, which I thought was funny. And I had to turn it off because I knew that if our fans were distracted, our players must be too. Let's show up, get a good night's sleep, and cheer our Tigers on to victory.
I like him.
This
I
is
like
parody,
him.
right?
Yeah.
That's gotta be parody.
No, that is
I like him.
TigerTopics.com.
You think that's real?
Absolutely.
I like what
You
he's
don't
doing
think
right there.
You don't think he's joking?
No. That
He
man-
wants you to channel your partying to the actual game.
Yeah. Too,
don't think
y'all
he's
having too
joking
much
there?
fun. No,
he's
I
joking?
don't. Do you know these people?
I mean, no.
Me either, but I know they exist. And that man literally thinks
But that would be a great job. I mean, it's entertaining if he was joking.
That's great.
No, it's even more entertaining that he's actually serious. Like,
True,
we got
that's
to
true.
stop having fun here, boys. Like, y'all went to Las Vegas. Fans had too much fun.
They had a lot of fun. with
Business
Voice of the Land.
trip. Business trip.
It was not a business trip for me.
Love it.
Love it.
We appreciate this. Is a great show. We appreciate y'all. We'll be back live tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
We have a big day on Friday as far as
We're at you again, huh?
Yeah, it was 3 straight days of the boys. This is impressive. We're very excited. We will have some football conversations. We were going to talk about the bets that we're going to have tomorrow, that we're going to place tomorrow. We'll talk about the fantasy football draft that we have tonight and all of our parlays that we were going to put together for the weekend. We're going to win this one. Fade us. You couldn't fade us last week because you would have lost. You'd have been pissed. But we're going to win this one. We
Iowa
promise.
under hit.
We're going to promise.
And your Fresno State pick hit.
I know. So I mean, I wasn't completely off.
No.
Parlay just wasn't
Just a
off.
parlay day tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, no. We're going to make the parlays for the weekend.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Parlay
Get your
day.
bets ready.
Yeah, get your bets ready.
Parlay day.
Texas,
your mind
Michigan. It was at 6.5 and it moved to 7.5 yesterday. It literally was in my hand and I was about to bet it, and then it jumped a point and I was like, looks like I got to tease it.
Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you don't like watching us, you like listening to us, or anywhere you get your pods. We appreciate the support. We'll be back live. We may not do it 6 to 8 though tomorrow. What do y'all think?
I like a little earlier.
Yeah, we'll do a little earlier tomorrow. We'll talk. We'll text out the time or tweet out the time. We
Probably not smart to contend with NFL's opening night.
Good point.
Just a thought.
It'll be an earlier show tomorrow. We will tell you the
Lead
exact
you into
time.
the game.
Yeah, we will.
Seen this happen a time or two. Never goes.
This is
never
like
goes well for anyone else
Yeah.
but the NFL.
This is like our Friday show, so it'll be a little shorter. Loosey goosey. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll let you know the time. We appreciate you. We love you. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night. Jared, good luck on your fantasy draft.
Yeah.
I hope you have a terrible draft.
Yeah, good luck to you too.
Love y'all. Peace.
Alvin Kamara.